What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be going over the reveal Fortnite has made for Act 3, which is going to be an Overwatch collab, but this is also going to be a huge overhaul for zero build mode as well. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, comment down below what you think of these changes, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So, firstly, and obviously, Fortnite Act 3 is going to be Overwatch themed. From the trailer I'll have on screen now, you can see that the Ice King is hunting down Jones and Fishstick, and then the Overwatch characters arrive to save Jones kind of like last minute. And we will be getting Tracer, Pharah, Diva, and Genji as skins in Fortnite, and they should also be NPCs on the map during this act, and we will be getting some of their abilities in-game as well as like items. The first kind of item or ability we're getting from Overwatch is going to be Tracer's pistols, which are actually going to be first person. When you have these equipped, you'll be in first person. And this will have somewhat of a dash ability, which is what Tracer does in that game. She kind of like teleports and dashes around. I am guessing this will be another item that you can't really aim down sights with, and maybe your aim down sight button will be what activates the dash. But we will see once we get to play it in game. It'll probably be pretty easy to figure out once it's actually there. But I'm interested to see how they kind of do the switching between first and third person when you equip these, or like what is going to happen there. And Fortnite also posted this graphic, which really shows off all of the content for this update. And from this, we can see that we will also be getting Pharah's staff as an item. And this will seemingly allow you to fly around. And she does revive people in Overwatch, and it is expected that this staff will allow you to revive your downed teammates, or maybe bring them back to life if they're fully limbed. Just like how she would in Overwatch as well. And we will be getting several landmarks or map changes from Overwatch as well. We got Hanamura, Busan, Drum Pavilion, King's Row, and then also watch points. With these being unnamed landmarks, I think they will be kind of smaller unnamed areas. And this maybe one of these will be at Tip Top Terrace, and that would explain why it got removed as well. But we do know that watch points will be replacing the gas station outside Sandy Strip. There might be multiple of these around the map. Maybe they just replace all of the gas station. King's Row is going to be some of the buildings in Sandy Strip being changed to these King's Row buildings. But I assume most of the POI will be Sandy Strip still. You can see from the picture that some of the buildings at Sandy Strip are different, but some of them are the same. So it's not like we're getting four, huge POIs, maybe one big main POI and then some other map changes around the map as well. At the top, it says there will be no more lethal fall damage. And now when you take fall damage, and if it would have been something that would have eliminated you, you will be at 1 HP instead. So you could still take a lot of fall damage. It's not like fall damage itself is completely gone, but lethal fall damage is what is gone. And now we're going to get into the big zero build changes, and these changes are coming in, and this is going to be how the game is from now until the end of Season 2. Maybe after that, some of these changes stick around. It seems like this is somewhat of like a test or an experiment to see what the community likes, and then maybe some of these changes can be permanent, but it's going to be a pretty big deal. So I'll have text on screen now. The first is going to be the new pocket items. These are going to be replacing your build bind in zero build. So whatever your switch mode, pull out blueprints bind is, that will be how you activate the pocket items. And then pocket items are unlimited use utility items that do have a cooldown. It'll be interesting to see how long the cooldown is. I think that's a pretty important aspect of how this is balanced. And you will start each match with one of these equipped, and you can swap it at vending machines around the map. The current pocket items we have are shockwave grenades, med mist grenades, and shield bubbles. So you will have an unlimited use shockwave as a pocket item. It'll probably just be one shockwave and then have a cooldown. Same with shield bubble. You'll throw the shield bubble down, but will have somewhat of a cooldown. And I think if the cooldowns are balanced, this will maybe be pretty good. But if the cooldowns are really short, I could see this being really annoying. Like people just having unlimited shockwaves, or seemingly unlimited shockwaves, or seemingly unlimited shield bubbles. I think that could just drag out fights for a long time. And then as a controller player, the med mist grenade removes aim assist, I'm pretty sure. So playing against that, if people can just decide to remove aim assist whenever they want, will be a bit of a struggle. I think the cooldown will probably be pretty significant, because if it wasn't, the med mist grenade would also just be super busted at healing in the storm as well. So I expect the cooldown here to be decent, but that will be kind of the main thing that affects the balance here. But I know this is something that people have wanted in zero build for a while, is extra inventory slots or some sort of improvement to the inventory. That way you can carry more utility. Personally, it isn't something I've ever wanted. I think the way you set up your inventory and what you choose to take, and there being kind of pros and cons to what you take, and kind of feeling like you miss out on some things to have other things, and then needing to play around that, I think that's a pretty important part of like the balance in the game. Again, we'll see how this plays out, but I've always kind of been of the opinion that you shouldn't just be able to have everything you want all the time and not really feel like you're leaving anything on the table. Like, I feel like good balance should mean that you're kind of always feeling like you're missing something, and then you need to play around that weakness. Not that you should just have everything on lock all the time, no problem. But I know a lot of people do disagree with me on that one. There's also going to be starting loadouts in zero build BR. So we've already kind of had this in blitz mode, but now all players will start a zero build match with a pistol, a small shield potion, and then their pocket item as well. So you could start the match with a pistol, mini shield, and shockwave, pistol, mini shield, and shield bubble, or, you know, the med mist. You can also fall all the way to the ground from the battle bus. So the way landing in Fortnite typically worked is you would get glider locked at a certain altitude, and then from that point you could no longer, you know, cut your glider or undeploy your glider. Now you will be able to just, you know, eliminate yourself or make yourself 1 HP from fall damage off the start of the game if that's what you want. So you can land faster and have more control over your landing with this, but you also open yourself up to potentially taking fall damage. This, again, is something that I probably have an unpopular opinion on, because I know a lot of people don't like the way landing is in Fortnite, but I feel like the way landing was, where you would get glider locked at a certain altitude and then you kind of needed to plan around that, created a skill gap and a knowledge gap with landing that will not really be there as much. I have played Warzone a good amount, so I'm kind of familiar with this landing style as well, because that's how Warzone was. I'm not that for or against this, but yeah, that is a change. Glider redeploy returns from elevated locations for cleaner rotations across the map. So I'm assuming if you're jumping from a high enough altitude, you'll just be able to redeploy whenever you want, which I personally think this is a good thing. Glider redeploy as an item or an augment, I wasn't the biggest fan of, but when Fortnite initially released glider redeploy in Chapter 1, Season 6, and everybody just had it all the time, I actually quite liked that a bit. So having glider redeploy in zero build will be nice. This one I absolutely love. Holding out your pickaxe grants unlimited stamina, so you will have unlimited sprint if you have your pickaxe out. And I like this because running out of sprint in Fortnite feels terrible, but also it is a way to get unlimited sprint, but you also are putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're going to need to swap to a weapon before you actually start shooting. So you won't just have unlimited stamina all the time. There is a balance and a give and take there. Another kind of addition that I really love is going to be that eliminations now restore your overshield. So we get overshield siphon. Once you eliminate an enemy, you'll immediately get all of your overshield back. And so this will reduce some of the effectiveness of third parties, which should be really nice. But also in team game modes, make it to where, like, if you get into a fight with somebody and, you know, knock and thirst them, you get a little bit of HP back if their teammate wasn't able to punish you immediately. Environmental structures now take significantly less damage from weapons. A boulder, a tree, a random shed will now all hold up much better as cover. This isn't something I'm the biggest fan of, but I don't know. I feel like my perspective on this is different because I mostly play solos, and in solos, a lot of the cover already, you can't just full spray out somebody's boulder or tree like really quickly. But in squads, when you have 4 people shooting at a tree or a rock, it does go down pretty quickly. So I could see why they would make that change. I just don't necessarily feel like I love it for solos. I like being able to put pressure on people that are trying to use cover and not just have them, you know, be untouchable there. Reboot van timers have also been reduced so you can get the squad back in faster. I do agree with this. Again, I mostly play solos, and so my perspective on this might not be the greatest, but it does feel like it takes an eternity to reboot. And it's one of those things that hasn't really changed too much since Fortnite added rebooting. I think for a while, it's just taken an absurd amount of time to reboot your teammates. So making it take a bit less time, I think is good. One of the things that I kind of had thought of last year when they made it to where you could buy teammates' cards back with gold was maybe have that be a part of the game. But also if you had their physical card without buying it, maybe then it goes faster. And so there is like a benefit to actually getting the card and not just buying it with gold. But in this update, it'll just be faster reboots. So this is going to be a huge Overwatch collab, but also a huge kind of update for zero build, regardless of how you feel about collabs or Overwatch, there will be a lot of changes. Pocket items is going to be something that changes the game. Starting loadouts is going to be something that changes the game. Changing the way we land on the map and giving us glider redeploy is going to be something that changes the game a lot. Giving us unlimited sprint when we have the pickaxe out is going to change the game a lot and create some kind of, I wouldn't say strategies as much as just like thought process you need to have throughout the course of the game, or something to play around or think about. Overshield siphon is going to be nice. All of this is a huge overhaul for zero build, and probably the biggest zero build update that we've ever had coming to the game. So let me know what your thoughts on this are. As I said, some of my thoughts may have been negative, or, you know, not that excited about it, but like that's something that can change once we play with it. This is just like initial thoughts, you know? So it's definitely something that's subject to change. I wouldn't, even if you feel one way or the other, like I said, I had my preferences or how I felt about things already. I think it's best to go into this open-minded and try to give it somewhat of a chance, because a lot of times people have their initial impressions about things and then aren't really subject to change on that. One example I would have of myself doing this is when Fortnite first released Zero Build, I was not excited for it. That trailer that dropped for Chapter 3 Season 2, I saw that and I was like, yeah, I don't want to play this. Because I'd played Fortnite for years with building. It wasn't so much that I was against Zero Build, it was more just not understanding how Zero Build would work, because that update also added the overshield, which is important for Zero Build. It also added sprinting and mantling. And so imagine Zero Build with no overshield, no sprinting, and no mantling. Like, it'd probably be terrible, right? So my kind of initial thoughts of how things might play were very off. But again, I went in open-minded, and I still very much enjoyed it, even though my initial reaction wasn't the greatest. And so even with some of this stuff, if it doesn't sound the greatest to you, give it a chance. It is like an experimental update. Obviously, with all things in Fortnite, they're going to be listening to our feedback, and there probably will be changes made going into Season 3. Some of this stuff will probably stay, and it'll become the new norm, but also some of it will change. And then there's also balance to be had here, like I talked about with the pocket items, not only the items themselves, but what the cooldown is going to be. All of that stuff can be adjusted. So I'm interested to play this for sure, even if, you know, it wasn't all exactly what I wanted. But let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments below. The Overwatch changes and this zero build overhaul. Gonna be a huge change for the game. But let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.